Well, hi, I'm Lori La Bey, and I have been on a journey of a lifetime. My mom lived with dementia for 30 years, and it was career changing and life changing for me. And I know a lot of people think 30 years isn't possible, but it is. In 10 of those years, my mom wasn't diagnosed correctly. She was told it was menopause. Now, given that was 40 years ago, and some things have changed, but some things haven't. I stepped in to this industry to shift dementia care from crisis to comfort. I wanted to bring people of all levels, all ages and stages together to bring their voice because I don't think we can make sustainable change and really meet the needs if we're not inclusive of everyone. That's a person with dementia, that's family, medical professionals, all the various businesses, advocates, researchers that are out there. And to me, that is absolutely critical. So I developed Alzheimer's Speaks, which has a ton of free educational resources in multimedia platforms that people can go ahead and snatch. And they are for everyone because what's good for dementia is really good for all of caregiving. And and getting us to look at what does care really mean? How does that affect us? I've also developed Dementia Map, which is a global resource directory. And the reason I bring those two things up is when it comes to physicians and our medical model, one of the things that I think is failing significantly is how we get diagnosed. So, most people that I talk to all around the world say it can be 2 to 5 year process. And that is absolutely too long and it's devastating. Plus, it ebbs and flows and their diagnosis changes, but no one tells them about that. Now, I want to start from the beginning of what it feels like to get that diagnosis and what most people go through. And I hope you'll be the exception to this. You see, most people go to the doctor, and when they finally do get a diagnosis, they are, told they have Alzheimer's disease or a different type of dementia. They are typically given a prescription. They are given another appointment. And as they're walking out the door, they are told to get their affairs in order. Many don't even get the number to the Alzheimer's Association or Alzheimer's Foundation or, um, a business like mine. And then they sit in their car and they cry for 2 hours before they can even drive home. The devastation of this diagnosis is critical. And what most physicians don't understand is the patient and the family are reading your nonverbals, your lack of hope, your almost embarrassment that there's nothing I can do for you. We need to connect people to services, products, and tools. And that can be through a flyer that you print out. That can be, verbally giving them some information. But we also have to realize that everybody taps into things differently. So you can't just give a QR code or a URL or a phone number. We need to give everybody all of those things where they can really find what they need. They don't even know what to Google for. So that would be my number one thing is really come from a compassionate side. And I know that that's difficult to do because you also, you need to keep your mental health intact as well. But think of how different that diagnosis would go if you are handing somebody hope versus just you've got a chronic illness and there's no cure. And we really don't know what the next steps are going to be. We need to educate people that just because they're getting maybe a diagnosis of Alzheimer's today, that doesn't mean that it might not change to mild cognitive impairment or Lewy body or frontal temporal or vascular at a later date, or maybe they're going to have multiple types of dementia. This happens all the time, and we're not preparing families for this change. It's kind of like cancer. It can spread, it can change, but we're not having those conversations. So little things can make a huge, huge difference. Many of you are doing online, talks with their people. And I'll never forget, um, in fact, it was a relative who had sent me a video of their conference call with their doctor. And the doctor put up, the MRIs of the brain, and they're looking over everything. And there was a teeny thin red arrow that was spitting all across the screen. And I know what they're talking about, and I had a hard time following it. I had to watch it 4 times to tell them what was really going on and slow down. Little things like that can make a big difference. When you're familiar with something doesn't mean they are. They're typically hearing this for the first time. And one of the best things that we can do is be inclusive and use our multi-sensory um, interactive engagement approaches. Looking at somebody in the eye, smiling. Don't just talk to the care partner. Give eye contact to that person who you're diagnosing, no matter if they're verbal or not, no matter what stage. We have to be inclusive, of them. Care partners find that really disrespectful when you only talk to them, when you never ask them, how are they doing? Because many times, especially in earlier stages, the person you have diagnosed is a wealth of information. Don't overlook that well of resources. They can teach you a lot.